Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our channel. We are Millennial Mom. If you don't know who is who, I'm Millennial. This is Mom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I'm Mom or Kay from Millennial Mom. Now, today I'm going to talk about 90 Days of Fiancé, The Other Way, Season 4, Episode 10, One Hand Does Not Clap. Now, before I begin, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already joined the family, and leave your comments. I love to hear what you have to say based on your opinion on the show, so get different perspectives. And also for those of you who have watched me from the beginning, this is going to be a pre-recorded live video, so you can still leave your comments, but I may not engage. So there you go. Not this time because it's a pre-recorded instead of a live, but I'll be back live next week for the show, so don't forget to join me then. So on tonight's episode, it's Gabe and Isabel. We have Chris and Rishi, Debbie and Osama, Jamie and Chris, Nicole and Mahmoud, and Danielle and Johan. So we're back to it with all these couples that's on the show from last night, if you got a chance to watch it. So when it picks back up, we have Gabe talking to Isabel's dad. He wants to get the blessing to marry his daughter. Now, he's already talked to Isabel's kids, Sarah and Miguel, and they're okay with him asking their mom to marry him because you know what? They want their mother to be happy, and if she's happy with Gabe, they're happy with Gabe. So there you go with that. Now, Gabe did speak to Isabel's mom and dad previously, like a couple nights ago, to get to know them a little bit more and to rip the Band-Aid off to let them know that he was trans. So they were accepting of him, and he was a little bit concerned because Isabel's family is a little bit more on the religious side, and so he was kind of unsure if they would accept him or not, but they did. So again, jumping back to last night's episode, Gabe did get the nerve up to ask for the hand in marriage, and Isabel's dad said it was okay. He was actually happy that he did so and welcomed him into the family. And, Isabel's dad also took time to ask Gabe questions about the transition and just to get to know Gabe a little bit more because, they don't really know about how that worked with Gabe once being categorized as female to now versus male. And Gabe gave a little bit more in-depth on why he wanted to transition. He said he didn't feel comfortable when he was growing up as a young lady. He just knew that, he was in the wrong body. And he showed, Gabe showed Isabel's dad some pictures of him when he was young, when he was a female. He even asked him, like, have you seen my social media page? I was like, why would you ask him, has he seen your social media page? I'm sure he hasn't, and he didn't, but Gabe showed it to him and explained, the reasons why. And the dad was okay with the asking for the hand in the marriage. So there was that. Now, later in the episode, we did see Gabe go ahead and take Isabel to the pottery place where he took her kids to make just different little plates and different pottery. And Gabe made a special plate that held the ring inside and asked, will you marry me? And of course, Isabel didn't know any of that in advance, right? So when they get to the place, Isabel's like, oh, saying like, oh, this is cute. This is nice. Yes, I want to see the plates and everything that the kids made. And so while she's looking, Gabe said to the guy that I guess that owns the pottery place, do you have my plate so I can show Isabel? So the guy brings the plate over and Isabel sees the plate and she's like, oh, what is this? And I'm surprised she didn't already open the lid because I would have been like, what is this, right? But Gabe got down on one knee and he was saying exactly how he felt. He was a little bit nervous saying it. He had to read it. I was like, if it's from the heart, you don't have to read it, but he chose to anyways. But she said yes, and she's very happy. Now, Isabel said she was surprised. She didn't realize the engagement would happen so soon. But, he's on his way back. He came back after leaving for like a year or so to come back and you're still in communication. So maybe she's thinking like, maybe not right now, maybe like a couple months down the line, but she was happy instead. She said that, you know what? Now with this proposal, with her family accepting Gabe and her kids accepting him as well, that now her life is complete and they can move on with their happily ever after. All right, so let's move to, I have Chris and Rishi. They're next in line. Now, Chris finally got that visa taken care of because remember, she had to go back home because when she came over to India, she had 30 days. And that's where like that tripped her up and that tripped me up. I'm like, 30 days, girl, you didn't read this before you went over? Well, this time is like for 5 years or excuse me, got her 10-year renewed. So she's good for a little while, right? As long as Rishi is with her so she can come back and forth, do whatever it is that she needs to do. So she's going back to India after 5 months. She finally made it there. And the reunion is just exactly like what happened when she left the first time. They were hugging, they were kissing, just like as if she never left. She even went back to the apartment that Rishi had for her, but this time that apartment is much more well stocked, right? He's showing her around like, oh, I have this, like different, I don't know, was it like food or blankets, different things she didn't necessarily have the first time. So Rishi was thinking this time like, let me get her hooked up. So maybe, if he got to come over there, because remember, the family doesn't know that Chris and Rishi, is it Chris? Am I saying it right? No, excuse me. Jen and Rishi. I keep saying Chris. I apologize. Jen and Rishi are in a relationship, right? So maybe this is his way of saying, like, if I got to come over, like sneak over because he hadn't spent a night yet, I could be here with Jen. So excuse me on that. It's Jen and Rishi, not Chris and Rishi. So as their scene progresses, keep saying Chris, I'm sorry. Jen keeps holding on to the fact that she knows that Rishi sent over her friend a picture that responded when he had on a towel, kind of like in a shower scene, eggplantish without the eggplant, right? And she's holding on to this for right now. She just wants to, be around Rishi and just, kind of like get that bond back together before she drops the bombshell. Now, later when we see them again, they go to a spa for a couples massage. And this is the time and place where Jen thinks is okay or feels is okay to drop the news like, hey, what is this that you sent to my friend? Like, how is this picture appropriate, right? Rishi is saying, listen, I just sent a picture as a response. Rishi said, it's just a regular picture. Jen says, no. You send me these pictures all the time. So now the pictures that you send to me, now they don't mean anything because, like you're giving them away freely. And Rishi's like, no, that's not what that means. And, Jen is not here for the extras, but Jen in her heart is feeling that if he's sending these pictures to her friend who she knew willingly catfished Rishi, like who else is he sending the pictures to? Now, let me just jump back just a little bit because I jumped ahead a little bit ahead. So before Jen made it to India, before her and Rishi got together, Rishi's always sitting down with somebody. Now, last week it was a female friend that he knew from wherever, exercise world, modeling world, whatever. Rishi is sitting down with just, a male friend this time talking about Jen is coming back. The family doesn't know. Rishi understands the fact of the traditional marriage that his family is trying to get him hooked up with other women from the villages to get him married off because he's older now. Like they want him to be married so that the wife can come in and do the family thing, just whatever they do traditionally. But he's like pushing back on that. He wants it seems like he wants that traditional type thing, but he wants the freedom to be with Jen or just with whoever at the same time. So he's trying to live the best of both worlds. And the friend, just like all the other ones that Rishi has reached out to, or, have always given him this similar advice, like be honest with Jen and, be honest with the family. If this is what you want to do, then, you have to choose. And the thing with Rishi, though, like I said, I think he's just like being pulled in both directions because he knows that his family wants him to be married with a wife and children, and he's the oldest male of the sons. And this is what he needs to do, but he's conflicted. So now let's jump back to Jen and Rishi in that spa date. And also too with Jen confronting Rishi. But before they do all that, like I said, I jumped around a little bit, so I apologize. When they were doing the couples massage and everything, or just the oil and stuff, it seemed like it was awkward. More awkward for Jen than Rishi. And especially when the oil was coming down on the hair, I guess it was something soothing. And hopefully it was like a hot oil treatment. But Jen was saying, what am I going to do with all this oil in my hair? And I'm thinking, yeah, because I was thinking that too. Like, sometimes some people don't necessarily do hot oil treatments. And if they do, not all that oil. But that's just me. So I don't know. We'll see if Jen gets the answer that she's looking for from Rishi as to why he sent those pictures and if he can rebuild her trust. So I don't know. That's going to be something we're going to see maybe on next week's episode. So now let me jump to next in line is Debbie and Osama. Now, Osama's taking Debbie to a poetry slam, and Debbie said, "Oh, Osama, we don't have nothing like this in Sugar Hill, Georgia." I'm thinking, Debbie, you may or may not. I mean, it's not necessarily seem like it's your scene, because Debbie's scene seems like it's more antique since she does poetry on the side. But Debbie is just, why is she just so like butterflies, rainbows, cupcakes, sprinkles with Osama like every time? Like she just can't get enough of this young man in her system, just like a cue the music. Oh, the harps, oh, kind of thing with Debbie. But anyways, she's observing that the people at the poetry slam are younger. It's a younger crowd, younger vibe. And I'm like, Debbie, okay, so Debbie, I'm not saying nothing age related, whatever, but she is 67, 68. Osama's 24. So the people that look like they were there look like they were like maybe 20s, 30s or something like that. So more like his age range, like what they do or what he does normally, right? And so Debbie is noticing that. And it seems like every episode, seems like lately she's noticing the difference in age when the age was already there. So I just don't understand what Debbie doesn't understand about the age gap. So anyways, so when it was Osama's turn to do the poetry, Shady Production had some cameras on two men who were looking at Osama like, you're dedicating this to who? Your fiance? Who? That lady right there, kind of. It's like, production, you didn't have to do Debbie like that. And you didn't have to do Osama like that either. But anyways, Osama got through his poem. Like I said, he dedicated to Debbie. And Debbie was just, again, on cloud 9, 10, 11. Like, how high can you go? That's where Debbie was, right? And so when Debbie sat down, she's like, oh my gosh, when Osama sat down, she's like, I can't believe you did that. You said I was your person, your fiance, in front of all these people. Like, he accepted me. And that was the thing that Debbie is looking for. She's looking for not just love, she's looking for acceptance from Osama. And just in general, because again, the age gap is like, I think it's weighing on her. And Osama keeps saying, well, Debbie, yes, I told you I want to show you. I'm going to prove my love to you. I love you. Like, I don't mind doing this, right? And showing you that I care. And I've said in other videos before, in my opinion, that's one thing that Osama, to me, comes across genuine. He has not changed his thoughts or views or opinions. It's always seemed like it's streamlined when it comes to Debbie. He seems like he's being as honest as possible, about, I want to show you X, Y, Z. And even when he told her a couple weeks ago, you spend 1 month here, then you go back home. And Debbie was thrown off by that comment. But I just think Debbie is living in a different kind of way that Osama is, because Debbie is at a point in her life where she's ready for now retired and move forward. But Osama is still starting life. He's young 20s. He still hasn't explored not even a quarter of what Debbie has experienced yet. And I think Debbie wants him to come along for the ride with her, but I don't think he's necessarily ready. But I think he's trying to do what he needs to do for the meantime to keep the relationship with Debbie. So, I mean, it was a nice moment. Debbie enjoyed the poetry slam, and Osama, this seems like this is what he does. So Debbie has hope for the future. Like I said, she's drank this all in. She said she feels like she's been drinking, but she hasn't. She's just so hopeful with everything now. Like, you know, the misunderstandings they had in the beginning are now put behind her because of he accepted her in public in front of everybody. So that's what Debbie wants us to know. All right, so let's move to Jamie and Chris. So now it's the next day after the wedding, and Jamie and Chris are looking to find a food truck. Now, before I go into details with the food truck, Chris in her confessional says that she's had nothing but money problems since she came to Colombia. With the bank freezing her accounts, the bank thinking that it's fraud and everything else. And even though she pays all the bills and the finances in Colombia, she eventually is going to have to come back home to America to get that fixed. So I'm thinking, okay, Jamie, I keep saying the wrong names. I apologize, y'all. Okay, Chris, again, you knew you was coming to Colombia, right? How come you didn't get with your bank in advance to let them know that you're traveling abroad and, and set it up like that instead of them putting a freeze on the account? The bank is doing what they're supposed to do. All right, so we're going to pause that for right now with the bank and the pause and freezing her accounts, right? So why are they looking at food trucks if the bank has frozen your assets? How does that go together? You don't have the cash to live there, right? And then you don't have the cash to get a food truck. So Jamie and Chris are walking around and they compare a few. And the bottom line is the food truck that they want costs at minimum $20,000, right? But yet she said the bank froze her account. How are they supposed to buy it? Because she's doing everything for her and Jamie. And Jamie is on hiatus from her job. She said she took a 30-day leave from her job. So now what, right? So, but Chris is trying to just make it seem like everything's okay and we can get this food truck because she really don't want to work for nobody. Jamie likes to cook. She likes to cook so they can make it work and be their own bosses. I mean, that whole plan, that whole situation just don't even seem like is logical, would even work, period. But that's just my opinion. Now, after they look at the food truck, they go back home, and guess what? Chris is now the next to go home. She has to pack up to get it situated with her bank, get her money together, things like that. B, she's got that lawsuit for the motorcycle, and C, the medication that she needed for her neck, her back, everything. They don't have in Colombia. So she's got to go back home to get that medicine so she could get right. Chris is just a big old ball of not having stuff together. It seems like she was trying to run, I'm not going to say escape, but run from her community, from whatever in the past or whatever. It just doesn't seem like everything's on the up and up. There's just always something that just seems like you can't quite just put your finger on when it comes to Chris. At least for me. That's how it is for me. Like there's something missing here with this whole entire relationship. So Chris packed up to go home. Her and Jamie are in the cab. And guess what? Chris don't have on that neck brace, that whiplash brace in the car. I'm thinking, now listen, you had to spend 5 days in the bed when you got here. Couldn't even get out because your neck was misaligned. So you don't have it on in the car for the trip home on the plane. So at least you would know where it was. See, something's definitely going on in this relationship. So anyways, Chris was there only a month and now she's on her way back too. So something about that 30-day kind of thing going on this season of 90 Day Fiancé. So, all right, so let's move to Nicole and Mahmoud. All right, well, listen, for the first time since the show started with Nicole and Mahmoud, they personally aren't arguing, right? So, but it turns out that Nicole and Mahmoud are going out on the town. Mahmoud is taking Nicole somewhere, like she said, across the Nile River, something like that, for some hummus, right? So some light bites to eat, right? But while she's gonna talk to Mahmoud, she's gonna introduce Mahmoud to a friend that she met named Narun, something like that. So if I get the name wrong, I apologize. That she met while she was taking meditation classes, right? And so when her and Mahmoud are sitting down talking, she's like, "Yeah, I want you to meet my friend. I had a good time." She was telling me about Egyptian men and how they want you to conform a certain way. And, I'm really happy that I got a chance to meet someone who can see from my point of view. Mahmoud is like, who? Where? Nah, that's not how we do things. It's okay for you, honey, to go and meditate, but as long as there's no men there. But don't listen to other things. Like don't get anything, no ideas in your head. What Mahmoud was trying to tell her, right? Nicole was saying, no, it's okay. I just need someone to help me understand and to get me on the right path to understanding you and what I need to do while I'm here in Egypt. Now, this is Nicole's second time coming back to Egypt, right? She's been married to Mahmoud for 3 years now, even though they weren't together for the entire 3 years because Nicole got upset and went back to America. But now that she's been back, she said she's been back for 4 months. Well, excuse me. Nicole said that she wanted to get Mahmoud and Narun to meet so Mahmoud will be comfortable with her being out, exercising, meditating, yoga, whatever that she does, and he would be okay, comfortable with her being there, and Narun could explain that there is no one there but women to enjoy what she was teaching. So Mahmoud agrees to meet Narun later in the evening. And so when we see that scene, it's Mahmoud, it's Nicole, and Narun. And there's not even as much as a, hey, how you doing? Because even in confessional, Nicole said, like, I thought they would at least sit down and like, oh, hey, introduce themselves. Nope, they didn't do that at all. The conversation just jumped into, I meditate and I'm teaching Nicole about Egyptian ways and different little things like that. Her and Mahmoud clearly come from two different sectors of the Egyptian culture versus Mahmoud's family is more strict on how women should dress and look and be in public versus Narun, who said that her family was like that a little bit, I think she was saying, but she became, when she became of age, she became independent. She moved away from that. So, she learned there's things that you could do for women and they could be, like I said, more independent. And where she lives in Egypt, I forgot where she said where, like she lives in the newer part of Egypt, and Mahmoud and Nicole live in like the older part, like the more traditional part of Egypt. And she's like she's saying, excuse me, the way she lives now, like she would never go backwards. Like why would she go back to strict rules and regulations when women could be free, and do what they do independent, like for example, education, meditate, wear short sleeves, this and that. Now Mahmoud pretty much telling Narun, listen, Nicole don't need no new friends, right? Nicole don't need no new friends, and definitely not you, right? So in confessional, Mahmoud's like, you know what? He's happy that Nicole is getting out meeting people. That's what he's saying. I really don't think that he trusts Nicole out meeting anyone other than his sister-in-law, right? But that's what he's saying for his honey. But Narun, this no new friend isn't it, because Narun is going to cause trouble for the marriage, and he's just not here for that. So you know what? I don't know how many times Nicole could get out to go for a mediation or meditation class or yoga class, but I think Mahmoud may shut that down real soon and real quick. So Nicole should take advantage of what she's done so far and maybe get her sister-in-law to come so Mahmoud will feel more comfortable. I don't know. We'll have to see as the show continues on. All right. So finally, we have Danielle and Johan. Now, listen. Every episode there's always something with Danielle and Johan. They never seem to be on the same page, right? But this time they're also out on the town, and there's miscommunication going on yet again from, it seems like, Danielle. Danielle really wants Johan to meet and hang out with her ex-boyfriend. Johan is like, no, first of all, I don't even like you having male friends. And Danielle's like, oh no, I have male friends, and it's okay if you have female friends, but why should I give up my friends because you don't like it? And Johan is saying, well, it's a cultural thing. And Danielle keeps saying, well, I'm American. And Johan says, well, you're Dominican, the Dominican Republic. That's not how we do things. And it's just going to be, in my opinion, a constant, continuous going back and forth with Danielle wanting Johan to understand that she has male friends, right? But this male friend is an ex-boyfriend. I don't know too many people who would be comfortable with someone still being friends with their ex. I know people do, but just the way that Nicole just seems like, not Nicole, I'm sorry, the way that Danielle seems to be like so flirty and just, I don't know. She's also another free, like I said, she's like a little bit younger of a Debbie with a free spirited mind to me. Like, oh, like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Like they're on the same wavelength when it comes to that. But Danielle's always trying to prove her point without taking into consideration Johan. And that's the issue for Johan. And honestly, that's the issue with me watching Danielle and Johan, right? So again, conversation goes left. The night on the town is ruined because he doesn't want to meet anybody, an ex, one. And two, he don't want to meet them at all because why is she always bringing someone around Johan? So they leave to go home for the night or whatever. And Danielle thinks that Johan is maybe a little bit too inebriated to drive. Johan is upset, saying he can. So she sits on him, trying to get him to get the keys. And eventually she gets the keys, drives off because she's in a better frame of mind than he is when it comes to that. Now, that was the end of the episode. But next week, we're going to see a continuation of Johan and Danielle arguing about the ex. So we learned that not just is she wanting him to meet the ex-boyfriend, she wants him to meet the ex-boyfriend on his birthday. So let's say they go out, Danielle and Johan go out for the birthday. She wants to invite the ex to the festivities. Okay, listen. Johan has all the right in the world to be upset. On the birthday, man, Danielle definitely has her nerve. She's crying and carrying on, talking about, everything I do is for you. I live for you. I want to be there for you. It's not showing. I mean, I think she definitely does love Johan, but all these extras, he's tired. And so am I. But it's not about me. Also, too, next week, Debbie and Osama are finally going to Osama's family's house to stay for a couple days. Now, Debbie is concerned because she's like, well, who wants to go home to meet mom and dad, especially with this age gap? I'm not. Again, Debbie, eventually you would have met his family, I'm guessing, right? And you didn't already know that he lived at the family farm or where the compound is. So we see Johan's family sitting there, but we don't know exactly what they're going to think. And who knows? They may invite Debbie in. We'll have to wait till next week to see what's going on. Then we have Isabel and Gabe. Looks like they're meeting a lawyer. And apparently, if they want to get married in Colombia or just in general, the lawyer is, I'm guessing who they're talking to, is saying to Gabe, well, we need a birth certificate that says male. Gabe says, well, the birth certificate I have still says female. And she's like, nope, we need that. And then Gabe is trying to explain that, well, my paperwork is lost and, I don't have it. And I'm, Gabe, how come you don't have it? And how come you don't already know that your sex would have to be changed on your paperwork? I mean, if you transition, it should transition with you, your paperwork, your ID, and everything else. So that is definitely already an issue for them going forward to be married as legal husband and wife. And then finally, we have Rishi and Jen. Jen is still going in at the spa, asking him, like, what is going on, why are you sending pictures of yourself, and why are you sending roses to other women. And so going back and forth with that. And then Jamie and Chris is at home, Jamie and her having a video call, and Jamie's like, where have you been? I haven't seen you in 30 days. I text you, tell you call me when you can, and you don't. What is going on? And Chris says, I'm not answering because I'm working to send you money. And I'm like, what? After all this, you went home and you ghosted her yet again? Oh my goodness. So that is next week's episode. I hope we get to see all that next week too. And also next week is Love in 90 Day Fiancé, Love in Paradise. So we'll have back-to-back shows we'll be watching and I'll be reviewing as well. So thank you everybody for watching. I really appreciate your time. I'll be back live next week for the show. And until next time, everyone, live simply, be grateful.